It was a stormy night, with rain lashing against the windows like gnarled fingers tapping impatiently. I had just moved into a quaint old house, and despite the creaking floors and mysterious ambiance, I brushed off any eerie feelings. The previous owners had warned me about strange occurrences during thunderstorms, but I dismissed their superstitious tales as mere folklore. I believed I was strong enough to handle anything the old house had to offer. As night fell, the storm intensified, and the once comforting sounds of rain turned into an eerie symphony of dread. I decided to distract myself with a book, attempting to focus on its pages rather than the unsettling atmosphere surrounding me. The house was secluded, nestled far away from civilization, so being home alone only heightened my sense of vulnerability. After some time, the sound of rain seemed to quieten, and I began to hear odd noises from somewhere in the depths of the house. Footsteps, faint whispers, and the distinct sound of doors creaking shut. My heart pounded in my chest, and I tried convincing myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. However, as the minutes passed, the noises grew louder and more insistent. Attempting to calm my nerves, I called a friend, seeking solace in their voice, but as I dialed their number, the line was dead, consumed by the storm's fury. Now truly alone and cut off from the outside world, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. With each passing moment, the noises seemed to draw closer, and I couldn't bear to sit still any longer. Clutching a flashlight, I decided to investigate, convinced that the storm had merely caused some loose objects to move around. As I stepped into the hallway, the dim light from the flickering bulbs barely pierced the darkness. The strange noises persisted, filling the air with an almost tangible tension. My flashlight's beam quivered as I moved towards the source of the sounds. Then suddenly the power went out. Darkness engulfed me, wrapping around like a sinister cloak. Panic welled up inside me as I fumbled for my phone to use as a backup light. The eerie stillness now replaced the noises, and I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. In the darkness, I felt something brush against my leg. My heart leaped into my throat as I frantically shone the phone's light downwards. To my relief, it was just a cat, seeking shelter from the storm. I decided to take the cat with me, believing that company, even if feline, might alleviate some of my anxiety. Carrying the cat, I cautiously proceeded through the house, navigating the pitch-black corridors. My phone's battery was dying, and with each step, the darkness seemed to press in, becoming more suffocating. The house seemed to be playing tricks on me, with shadows that appeared to move and whisper. As I reached the living room, I noticed something alarming. All the portraits and paintings on the walls had their eyes gouged out. It sent a shiver down my spine, making my heart pound even harder. I couldn't comprehend how this could have happened, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Feeling a cold draft, I turned to the hallway behind me, and there, standing in the shadows, was a figure. It was tall and cloaked in darkness, with eyes that seemed to glow faintly. Frozen in terror, I watched as it raised an arm towards me. Summoning all the courage I had left, I screamed and ran towards the front door. The figure pursued me relentlessly, its whispers echoing through the hallways. As I reached for the doorknob, it suddenly slammed shut with an unseen force. Desperation set in as I tried to force the door open, but it was as if an invisible barrier prevented my escape. Turning around, I saw the figure had drawn closer, and in the faint light I could make out a twisted, sinister smile on its face. In my last desperate attempt to escape, I sprinted to the basement door and flung it open. I stumbled down the steps, barely keeping my footing. Down in the darkness, I found an old trapdoor. With trembling hands, I lifted it, revealing a narrow passage below. Without thinking, I crawled into the cramped space and closed the trapdoor above me, sealing myself in darkness once more. The whispers faded, but the dread lingered. I knew I had to find a way out, but the fear of what awaited me outside was paralyzing. Hours passed, and I remained trapped in that suffocating space, consumed by fear and uncertainty. The storm eventually subsided, and the silence that followed was haunting. I mustered the courage to venture back upstairs, but the figure was gone, leaving behind only the chilling memory of that fateful night. To this day, I still dwell in that old house, knowing that whatever malevolent presence resides within its walls is not easily forgotten. It was a cold, stormy night, and I found myself alone in my old family farmhouse. My parents were away on a business trip, leaving me to care for the house and our 2 dogs. As the rain battered the windows, I settled into the living room, trying to distract myself with a book and the company of our faithful canine companions, Max and Bella. As the hours passed, the storm grew in intensity, its howling winds and relentless rain creating an eerie symphony outside. The sound of each raindrop tapping against the windows was amplified in the silence of the house, and an unsettling feeling crept into the depths of my soul. I tried to focus on my book, but every now and then I thought I heard footsteps in the hallway or the faint murmur of voices. Dismissing them as mere products of my imagination, I decided to head to bed early, hoping a good night's sleep would shake off my unease. I climbed the creaky wooden stairs to my room on the second floor, with Max and Bella trailing close behind. As I approached my bedroom door, the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. The door was slightly ajar, but I was certain I had closed it before leaving for the living room. Attempting to quell my rising fear, I nudged the door open with my foot, and Max and Bella hurriedly entered, their tails wagging. They were always a source of comfort, but even they seemed slightly on edge. I turned on the bedside lamp and climbed into bed, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling. As I closed my eyes, I could have sworn I heard whispers, like a faint, distant conversation. My heart quickened, but I attributed it to the storm's eerie ambience playing tricks on my mind. In the darkness, I began to drift off to sleep when suddenly, I felt something icy cold brush against my foot. My eyes shot open, and there at the foot of my bed was a shadowy figure, vaguely human in shape. I rubbed my eyes, certain that it was just a trick of the dim light. But when I looked again, the figure was still there. Fear clutched at my throat as I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I reached for the lamp, but my trembling fingers knocked it over, plunging the room into darkness. Heart pounding, I fumbled for my phone on the nightstand and activated its flashlight. When the beam of light illuminated the spot where the figure had stood, it was gone. My breaths came in ragged gasps, and I could feel my pulse throbbing in my ears. Max and Bella whimpered beside me, sensing my distress. Hoping it was just a figment of my imagination, I attempted to calm myself and convinced myself that sleep deprivation was playing tricks on my mind. With great reluctance, I switched off the flashlight and tried to close my eyes once more. But sleep was elusive, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak and groan of the old farmhouse sent shivers down my spine. As I lay there, I heard a soft, ghostly laughter that made my blood run cold. Max and Bella growled, their ears perked, reacting to a presence I couldn't see. Determined to prove my irrational fears wrong, I decided to investigate the source of the eerie laughter. Carefully, I tiptoed out of my room, flashlight in hand, and made my way to the hallway. The corridor seemed darker than before, as if the shadows had grown thicker. I followed the faint sound of laughter, and it led me to the attic door, which was slightly ajar. The laughter seemed to come from within, echoing through the narrow passage. Summoning every ounce of courage I had left, I pushed the door open and climbed the rickety stairs to the attic. The flashlight's beam revealed a dusty, cluttered space filled with old furniture and boxes. The laughter grew louder, more menacing, and my heart pounded in my chest. Then, in the corner of the attic, I saw her, a little girl with hollow eyes and a tattered dress. Her laughter had an eerie, haunting quality, and she seemed to float slightly above the ground. My mouth went dry and I couldn't move, my body paralyzed with terror. She beckoned to me with a bony finger, and I felt an inexplicable urge to approach her. The air grew icy, and her laughter morphed into a sinister whisper that slithered into my mind, filling it with darkness. Before I could take another step, Max and Bella rushed into the attic, barking fiercely at the spectral girl. Their presence seemed to break the hold the apparition had on me. I stumbled back, and as the dogs circled around me protectively, the little girl vanished, leaving behind an unsettling silence. Feeling drained and frightened beyond measure, I hurriedly descended from the attic, with Max and Bella following closely behind. I locked the door and barricaded myself in my room, afraid of what other horrors might lurk in the shadows. The night dragged on, the storm finally subsiding, but sleep eluded me. As the first rays of dawn broke through the curtains, I decided I couldn't stay in that house any longer.